Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Frank Peterson from RBFF. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Before I turn it over to Joanne to go over a few housekeeping items, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on here at RBFF and our inspirational goal of getting 60 million anglers in the next 60 months, and really how crucial it is that RBFF, state agencies, industry need to work together to achieve this goal. We know we're going to get there through our three activities: recruitment, retention, and reactivation. And today you're going to hear from Jenifer, who's going to talk about the great work they're doing in Georgia around retention and reactivation. And then Natalie's going to talk about their work at GovDelivery and try to give some tips as to how we can use their services and email in particular to recruit, retain, and reactivate anglers. RBFF continues to run its national campaign that really focuses on recruitment through both our Take Me Fishing and Vamos a Pescar campaigns, but we really need the help of the state agencies, who are the keepers of all that great data, to really help with the retention and reactivation part of the R3 initiative. Hopefully, the webinar will give you tips and examples of things you can work on today, like collecting email addresses, to help the community reach our goal of 60 and 60 through the R3 efforts, and in so doing provide needed revenue for states to do the great work you do on the ground and our conservation of our natural resources. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joanne, who's going to take you through some housekeeping items. Joanne?
Okay, thanks very much, Frank. Just wanted to remind you all that we will keep all of your phones on mute, so please also keep your phone on mute. We'll have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, and at this time you can use the Q&A box on your screen to ask a question, and we'll read it out loud, and Jenifer or Natalie will answer. Or if you have a question throughout the webinar, please also type it into the box and we'll get to it at the end. We will be posting a copy of the slides along with a recording of today's presentation online, and we will email all of today's attendees to let you know when it's available for download. And as always, before exiting the webinar, please really take just 1 minute to fill out the survey that will pop up as you exit the webinars. We really appreciate your feedback. All right, now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. Natalie Fedie, VP of Client Services at GovDelivery, will start the webinar. With over 15 years of marketing and public relations experience in both the public and private sector, Natalie understands the challenges that communication professionals face each day. She manages a team of client success consultants who work day to day with over 1,800 GovDelivery clients to maximize the effectiveness of their communications goals. Natalie has been honored by Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal for her leadership at GovDelivery and has a BA from the University of Wisconsin-Stout. After Natalie presents, then we'll hear from Jenifer Wisniewski, Marketing Communications Manager for Georgia Department of Natural Resources. The goal of her team is to promote hunting and fishing license sales, play a leading role in R3 efforts for the agency, effectively use and expand communication channels such as email, website, and social media to disseminate her important messages, and manage the overall image brand for the agency. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Natalie.
Thanks, Joanne. It's a pleasure to be here today, and actually thank you to the RBFF staff who invited me to come. You know, as the Vice President of Customer Success at GovDelivery, our mission is really to help our customers achieve their desired outcomes, and what a perfect opportunity to provide you with some 8 tips to help you with your outcomes that are around recruitment, retention, and reactivation of boaters and anglers. So I'm going to go ahead and have you go ahead and switch the slide for me, Joanne, and I'll just kind of nudge you along here as we go. You can go ahead and change the slide again. You know, our government and public sector is really at a crossroads today, and we've been in the business now for about 15 years, and we've seen a lot of trends, and currently we see that communications folks are really under a lot of pressure when it comes to the technology that the private sector is used to, and citizens' expectations are rising as information becomes available to them in real time and it's personalized. And also government agencies have tight budgets, as you all know, and really it's difficult to keep up with this transformation of technology. According to a Deloitte University Press study, about 76% of agencies out there today feel that the digital technologies are really disrupting the public sector, and there's really no choice but to actually have to deal with the trends, and only 13% of organizations feel like they're really on track to keep pace with this transformation. And there's really no hiding that your industry is also facing an incredible challenge. Just from learning through our BFF, we understand that there are current trends that show that younger and more diverse audiences are reluctant to take up fishing and boating, while the older white males are aging out of the sport. And this has an incredible impact on the boating and fishing industry in general. So today we hope that we're going to give you some tips that you can take back to really make a difference in people's lives and change the trajectory of this technology divide. So go ahead, Joanne, and next slide. And you can go ahead and push through this animation here. What we're showing you right now is really our traditional marketing funnel that folks are really used to seeing, and it's been around. We didn't invent this at all, but it really is a great way and a framework to help drive action in the public sector as well. In the private sector, when you think about the traditional marketing funnel, you think about outcomes at the bottom that all equate to revenue generation. Although you have some revenue generation responsibilities, a lot of times public sector marketing funnels have to do with behavior change, and digital engagement is a great way to actually help people change behavior, whether that be through recruitment, retention, or reactivation efforts. So go ahead and move to the next slide. We use this traditional marketing funnel as I said, as a framework to help, and a strategy that helps you as communications professionals help build your audiences, engage those audiences, and then use the data to drive outcomes. And we're going to talk a little bit, the 8 tips that I'm going to provide you today are really around this framework of reach, engage, and convert. And of course, in your world, it's all about recruiting, retaining, and reactivating. So I'm going to try to apply those tips for you today. Go ahead, Joanne. The first thing you need to do is think about your goals and objectives. What is at the bottom of your funnel? So if you are to think about reaching, engaging, and converting, what are the goals that you're trying to achieve? So specifically, the number of anglers you need to recruit, retain, and reactivate. You need to start there, and you need to have that knowledge of what you're trying to reach so that you can be successful. Next slide. Really, we find that our digital communications experts think about 3 different areas for digital engagement. That engagement is to transform online services, enhance public awareness, and improve citizen involvement. I'm just taking a second to talk about each one of those. And the first one is the translate online services. That is really a great technique for recruiting and reactivation, where we have our customers who are using our digital engagement to drive more license purchases and make it easier for anglers to get those licenses through their customer experiences on their websites. The second bucket we see most frequently is that digital engagement experts are doing public awareness. And public awareness is really more than just press releases today, as you all know. It can be used as a strategy to help retain and recruit new anglers. So you can share information specifically with citizens that help change behavior, get them to introduce them to new programs, get them involved in programs. And then lastly, the improved citizen involvement is really about building advocates, allowing your audience and your people that are engaged in activities right now, build your audience organically and help you reach your goals. So the more that you get them excited and motivated, they're going to organically reach out. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. We know that when it comes to digital engagement, that there are all different levels of expertise. And whether you're just beginning your journey of digital engagement or you're an expert, there's a path for you. And there are best practices that you can just start out with. Some people feel overwhelmed when they're pressured to have these big goals in mind, but we're going to actually, our tips are going to help you whether you're emerging or an expert. So I'm going to, Joanne, you can switch to the next slide. We've identified 6 key focus areas for success that help digital engagement experts move along the maturity scale. And these 6 areas are areas where most often we find challenges, but we help our customers, again, with those solutions. So people are whether or not you have the right capabilities or the capacity. So we want to make sure that you're taking the training you need, you're online doing things like this webinar today, learning about tips to improve your expertise and your staff expertise. With technology changing today, you really need to keep up to speed. Reach and engagement is all about that acquisition strategy. How am I recruiting my anglers? How am I reaching out to that audience, the diverse audience, the hard-to-find audience? And how am I defining them and targeting them specifically? So our tips will help you reach and engage your audience. And then understanding and accessing your data. Some people don't have access to data, whether it be data from your digital engagement, your clicks, your likes, or it might be just your website data. And I'm going to share some tips on how to combine that data to tell a story and drive your outcomes. And then making sure that one of the things we see is that when agencies invest in platforms, digital engagement platforms, there are a lot of tools and capabilities that come with that, and we want to make sure that you're maximizing all of those tools in an effective and efficient manner, so it doesn't really make more work on your plate. It actually helps you do your job faster and better. And then we've already touched on outcomes and how we want to make sure that you understand what's at the bottom of your funnel so that we can actually measure the effectiveness of your digital engagement and improve, take that information and make really good decisions about how you're going to improve your digital engagement. And then go ahead and Joanne, you can switch to the next slide. So let's dive into these 8 tips, and the first few tips are going to talk really going to help you with recruiting. Again, I talked about that. What is your acquisition strategy of growing your subscribers? And the first tip is making sure that you're optimizing your web properties to convert visitors to subscribers. Go ahead, Joanne. And if you're an expert in converting your visitors to subscribers, and you have you actually, I'm going to just focus on the expert right now. You're highly engaging your audience. You're making sure that you have a great and efficient way for people to sign up to your email lists. You're contacting them and you're understanding, you have information about your audience. You have them segmented, whether that be geographically or by interest or just by even license category. So becoming an expert in this area is really that profile of understanding your audience and growing your audience. Go ahead, Joanne, and switch to the next slide. Some of the tips and ways that you reach your audience is to, some people aren't even thinking about the lowest hanging fruit is that you have an email list that probably is being collected as people are signing up for these applications and registering for their licenses. Make sure that you're leveraging that. Some people are afraid to engage people when they've given this information, but in the end, it's really doing them a service and providing a better service for your organization. Making sure that you have consistent and multiple links and direct sign-up boxes, which we're going to talk about more. Overlays are very, very effective, and I'm going to share some data with you. And then using social media not only as a way to just get the word out, but actually drive more engagement into your system. Go ahead and switch to the next slide and go through this animation a little bit. We know that we again, some people don't think about just the easiest ways to build an audience is to making sure that you have your sign-up boxes and your in prominent places, and that it's branded and it's visible. And we find that the direct sign-up box is actually the best and most effective way to grow your audience because it has a call to action. And then personalizing that, or making sure that there's clear description of what people are signing up for so that they know what they're going to be provided. Go ahead, Joanne. The second tip is really leveraging your commonly underutilized features to acquire key audiences. And go ahead, Joanne. As we grow and move up that maturity model, we see that people sometimes, again, don't think about the ways that are other ways that they can acquire audiences that are outside of just the normal sign up on your website. A lot of this is with web capture forms. Again, during the process of them filling out a form, you can ask them to sign up. That would be a great thing to do. And overlays, again, we're going to talk a little bit more about overlays. Personalized overlays, they are wonderful, and we're seeing a lot of results with them. You can go ahead, Joanne, and move to the next slide. Overlays can be used in a seasonal campaign. They can be used for a short time or a long time. They can be used on a specific page that is promoting an event. They're visually engaging, they're informative, and you can even track the results of if they're useful. And of course they are useful, and you can go to the next slide, Joanne. We find that not only are they useful, but they're driving 300 to 500% more subscribers to email subscription lists. And this is just incredible. And again, the more specific you are with your overlays and customized you are, the better results you're going to have. You can go to the next slide. We have another feature that a lot of people don't think about in capturing audiences where they are is with text messaging. We can set up the text to subscribe feature, which I'm sure if you're not even a GovDelivery customer, that text messaging is going to be a useful tool for you. But again, reaching people where they are is what they expect. It's timely. It allows them, when the information is relevant, that they will sign up for something. And using text messaging, they don't always have to be sitting at their PC. They're out and about. They're shopping. They're riding in a bus. This is the type of information, again, you want to, or the tools you need to make sure that you're reaching people when they want to be reached and it's convenient for them. So many of you I know that are using social media as a way to reach out to your audiences and stakeholders. And again, another thing people frequently don't think about is that they're using their social media as a way to drive acquisition again. So putting and embedding your email sign up right into your social media site is a way to do that. And again, it can be designed in a way that is inviting and not so intrusive to people when they're on your social media sites. Go ahead, Joanne. One of the things that GovDelivery has that's unique to other email automation providers is the GovDelivery network. And again, another thing people seldom think about is cross-promoting your content with other agencies. We know that agencies have similar audiences, and if they're coming to your to another website to get information about driver's license at the DMV, that it's almost imperative that they would want to come and get phishing information from you as well. So why not cross-promote that content? And we do that through the GovDelivery network, so that when someone signs up to one website, indirectly they get reference to another website so that they can fill out information. So that's another thing, just cross-promoting your content. Go to the next tip. My third tip here is capturing more information on your users to personalize and send relevant content. Go ahead, Joanne, to the next slide. When we have people sign up to email subscription lists, we have the opportunity to ask them more questions. And we keep the questions to a minimum, but they're very useful for two reasons. One, you can use the answers to that question to personalize the emails and messages that you're sending out. And it also allows you to segment emails or sub-segment your email list based on their answers. We do this frequently with folks who want to target people in geographical areas and don't necessarily have that information. So as they're going through the subscription process, you can ask them which county they live in, what zip code they have, and then you can go ahead and filter those lists, those are larger lists, into sub-lists to provide relevant information that is very personalized. And again, private sector is doing this already, and they expect government agencies to be doing this as well. The next slide is talking about that content again. And again, just some examples of questions that you can ask. Again, geographic. How about that household makeup? I know that one of the things that people get nervous about is asking private information. And of course, we're not advocating to ask any of that type of information, but one way around that we've worked with, and I'm going to use the Veterans Administration as an example, is they will ask questions like, what areas of interest do you have? Is it in, were you from or interest in a war era? Was it World War II? Was it the Gulf War? And of course, as they sign up for these things, then you're probably going to be able to just assume that they have some interest in those areas, and that probably their age group would be into that area. So if you're asking things like, are you interested in youth fishing programs or adult fishing programs, senior fishing programs, of course, if they're signing up for those different interests, you can assume that they are falling into that age category. So just some tips on that. The next round of tips is about engaging and retaining your audience. And the fourth tip we have is to deliver tailored messages to different user groups to guide citizens to best fitting information and purchasing options. And we're talking a lot about segmentation, personalization, and when it comes down to choice and driving people to the right options, you want them to have a good customer experience or experience throughout your website or however they're getting to your information. Making sure that you're customizing that content to be relevant to the actual agents or the actual citizens. So if they're passionate about anglers and their first subscribers, you want to make sure that your content is about and relevant to those first subscribers. We talk about this as far as a life cycle and where they are in their life cycle journey. We work with the Social Security Administration, and they have goals to touch people and engage their stakeholders at every part of their life, whether they're just being born and they're getting their Social Security number for the first time, or they're in a situation where they need disability help, or even when they become seniors and they're retired, or and birth to death. They cover the entire spectrum. And I believe that if you think about your engagement with your citizens and whether they're just getting introduced to fishing for the first time as a young child, and as they grow into teenagers and young adults, how do you keep them engaged throughout that life cycle? This is where you really need to make sure that you have relevant content that is going to be fitting and allow them to retain those anglers. Go up to the next. You have lots of options on your website. And making sure that you're providing, making sure that I'm just making sure I'm tracking time here because I've got a lot of information and we're almost done here. So having the ability to make sure that you're sending them to the right area to find the right information, again, whether depending on where they are in their life cycle, where they are in their interest, if they're lapsed for a while, you want to make sure that you're sending them to the right information so that they can easily find the type of license that is going to be relevant to them. The fifth tip is to nurture and retain your subscribers. So we're talking about retention, and we have some techniques for that through welcome and seasonal engagement campaigns. What you see on the slide right now is really the profile of a digital engagement expert. If I was going to put all these tips together for you today, we have kind of put this in a visual format. You're reaching the right audience, you're building your audience, you're using all the strategies we talked about to capture your audience, you're using onboarding campaigns to help establish relationships with them depending on where they are in their life cycle. So that might be a welcome message, it might be a lapsed message, whatever that might be. You're using targeted and personalized content to make sure that they get the information that they're either interested in or it's relevant to their age group or their demographic or their location. And then you're re-engaging them on a regular basis throughout the year during the seasons. And I have another slide on that coming up. And then you're converting that into some type of outcome. And here's a great, this is putting it in your terms, here's a great example of how you can take all of that and engage people throughout the year with these onboarding, re-engagement campaigns, and again, specific to that audience, whether they're currently a active participant in fishing or they've lapsed or you're trying to get them for the very, very first time. So making sure that, this is preaching to the choir, I know that, but this is very important in helping you drive your outcomes. The sixth tip that we have today is to automate those messages so that they're timely and relevant. Again, as we talk about all the different ways to engage your subscribers, we want to make sure that you're doing this in the most efficient manner so that we're not making more work, you're actually making your life easier. And targeted messaging is one way that our customers are using email to automate their transactional messages. They may be building in an email component using APIs and integration right into their systems so that as folks are signing up for these things, they're getting timely information about welcome, thank you for signing up, your password is expired, your license is going to expire, your renewal is due. All of these transactional messages are, if you're doing them manually, can take a lot of time. But there are ways to integrate into your current legacy system so that you don't have to do that. And again, go to the next slide, Joanne, just to make sure that when you're sending out these automated reminders that you have the most important information up front, that you're formatting your emails in a way that is easy to read, consume. There's always a call to action. And remember, people are looking at your information on all different types of modalities, whether it be laptops or mobile phones. The next slide and the next tip is going to be about engagement data to reactivate those lapsed subscribers. And again, if you're an expert in this area, you're using all of the data that you're collecting from your campaigns to help change, make improvements, and really improve the way that you're reaching customers and tracking that. go ahead and move to the seventh tip, which is to compare engagement metrics with web satisfaction and other data to improve citizen experience. And Joanne, just move ahead to the next slide. We have in the whatever email platform you're using, I'm sure that you have the ability to review and look at real-time data about how people are interacting with your messages. Are they reading it? Are they clicking on the links? And it's important not only to just use, and you can go to the next slide as well, it's important to analyze that data, but then data analytics, go to the next slide, is to help you measure the effectiveness. Is it that it's important to look at more than just one data point. So go to the next. Leveraging that data is really about combining that website metrics and that customer satisfaction data. And I have an example of that in the next slide, where it helps you tell the whole story. When you're collecting just one type of feedback, you're only seeing part of the story. It helps you take action if you're seeing the whole picture. And the use case that I have on the next slide is actually from the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, where they literally had looked at their online satisfaction surveys, gotten the feedback from their customers, and depending on that feedback, they changed their web, maybe added more content if they said there was something missing, went back and looked if the traffic from their website was then increased, and then whatever information was missing, sent email content to that audience to let them know that that website had been improved. And so when you use those three types of data metrics, you can really show improvement across the board, and if you're improving that citizen experience. The last tip is to use communication metrics as a sign of good effort and action taken as success. And if you're an expert, and Joanne, you can move to the next one. If you're an expert, you're actually looking at this data and tracking your outcomes. And, you know, as communicators today, we have the ability to prove the effectiveness of our efforts. And so the last couple of slides, again, is just to remind you that, you know, in a public sector situation where you're driving behavior change and you're wanting people to participate in activities, whether you're, you know, driving transportation or getting people to move their car in a snow emergency, in the end, all of your outcomes really, really translate to better lives for more people. And what a great way to think about your jobs, and all the work that you're doing is making a huge difference. So move to the next slide. We're going to wrap up the session here. Make sure that you're using your engage, convert, and outcomes to track, you know, use your digital engagement metrics to track that conversion and share the success. And hopefully when you see the bottom of your funnel on the next slide, you guys are going to get to 60 million anglers in 60 months. I know that's your outcome. And in the end, you're going to really make people's lives better. So just summarize with the next slide there. It's not just about clicks, opens, and likes, but it's truly about changing behavior and outcomes. So thank you again for letting me be here today.
Thank you so much, Natalie. We definitely appreciate all the information. I think there were a few questions that were typed in, so we will get to those at the end. So now I'd like to turn it over to Jenifer.
All right. Hi, everybody. And Natalie, you teed it up perfectly. So my presentation is more about, okay, you've done all this great legwork and you've gotten your email addresses. Now, how do you measure your return on investment and get the most out of your customers and prove that what you're emailing makes a difference? So if you'll go on to the first slide, Joanne. So yes, how much are email communications worth? We measure clicks, we measure opens, but what we really wanted to do was measure purchasing behavior tied to an email. So these are 4 different studies that we have that are ongoing, and they are with Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, which is a great partner, and they have footed the bill for a couple of these studies, and the NSSF, We did our own lifetime license campaign, and of course the Lapsed Angler Toolkit that is available to every state. We use that as well. So go on, and we'll start with the first one. The Retention Pilot Program was a study on first-time anglers, which we defined as people that hadn't purchased a license in the last 5 years. So we have that population of folks, and we broke it down into 5 different groups and communicated to those 5 different groups in different ways. We had a control group, which got nothing. We told them no emails, no communications, they got nothing. Then there was another group that just got a reminder right before their license was going to expire, 30 days out, and then a week before, and then a day before. And then there was another group that got that reminder, and then they got a discount advertised in that email. So they said, renew now and take advantage of the $2.75 discount. Then we also had a group that got newsletters along with their reminders to renew their license. And then the 5th and final group was newsletters and the reminder with the discount message. So if you go on to the next slide, we can see here the black line there in the middle is the control group. So it doesn't matter how we communicated with them, every single communication made a lift off of that control group baseline of 13.5% renewal rate. Well, we've made that 20% in some cases, and so you can just tell that email communications really do work to cause a lift in making people aware that their licenses are expiring or expired. So let's keep going. Discounts. This is always a hot topic. Are they worth it? We saw that when a discount was advertised in the email, it caused quite a bit of lift between the emails that did not have that message. So our basic fishing license costs $9. I think we're the cheapest one in the country, and the discount on that is $2.75. So that's, we sold 128 more licenses with that email that had that discount message, and it got us $800 worth of revenue, and we gave up $350 of that revenue. And if it might work for your state to do that, then it could give you the same sort of results. I honestly am for discounts because it really does cause a lift and make people not lapse as often. All right, let's go to the next slide. So newsletters, do they help? Do they keep your audience connected? I thought that I was a really good communicator and that newsletters were great and they kept people engaged, and these are preliminary results, so it could go differently, but the people that got our newsletters were less likely to have renewed across the board. So we're taking from that maybe newsletters need to be voluntarily signed up for, and people need to want them to get them. But anyway, next slide. The NSSF study, we're doing the same study with hunting license and combo license purchasers, and those results are coming out next month. But I did just want to mention that study is also going on the hunting side of things. And let's go to the next study. So we did a lifetime license campaign, and we picked 4 groups to target. We targeted pre-senior. These were 59 to 64-year-olds that usually purchase the license every year, so they were consistent purchasers. And we told them, hey, you can buy your senior lifetime license and save money, and you'll be counted. You'll get your certification counted every year. Then our second target was sportsman's license purchasers. So these are folks that are spending $55 a year on a license. We said, hey, if you purchase your lifetime license, you're going to save thousands of dollars over the course of your life. The third one, we have a non-resident lifetime license. So we hit up all our non-residents and said, you can buy any infant you know a lifetime license, and it's a gift that lasts a lifetime. And then the last target customer base was folks that were in our data system that were purchasers, and we said, buy a gift of a lifetime license for yourself or for someone else. And if you'll go to the next slide, we can kind of see how those results ended up with $273,000 more in our pocket. That's direct license revenue. That doesn't count the certification that we're going to get to count from those lifetime licenses every year. So the sales during the email campaign were what made that increase. And if you'll go one more slide, this is the zero baseline was the year before sales, and we did that lifetime license campaign in the last 6 weeks of the year, so, or 7 weeks, was it? I think it's 7 weeks. Well, you can see the end of the year trend. It just goes up and up and up. So that was our email campaign. I mean, if you can take that to your boss and say, hey, these emails made us $273,000, that's pretty convincing. All right, next slide. So the most recent email campaign that we did was everybody had the RBFF Lapsed Angler Toolkit. We've used the old mailings, and everybody's familiar with the Lapsed Angler program. It's a wonderful program, and RBFF has tested and designed these great tools, and all I did was take those tools and put them to use. We pulled the data like we always have annually for the Lapsed Angler program, and I emailed those lapsed anglers with the messages that RBFF came up with. And let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk about those emails just a little bit. We split the group of lapsed anglers into 2 groups, and we waited until mid-June because I wanted the big push for fishing licenses to be over. And we sent the email to 2 groups, one that was lapsed for more than 5 years and one that was lapsed less than 5 years. And we gave customers 2 weeks to make a purchase. So some of the data from the emails sent, you'll see this was the more than 4 years lapsed. We said, we miss you in the subject line. And it got a very, very strong open rate and click rate. You'll see there 36% of the almost 100,000 people that we emailed opened that email, which is fantastic. All right, let's go to the next one. So what licenses did we sell in 2 weeks? We sold almost 13,000 privileges. So you can see the breakdown of some of those there. You see we sold almost 4,000 annual fishing licenses, over 2,000 trout, combo licenses, 2-year licenses, short-term or 3-day licenses. We did also sell a lot of free licenses, the HIP and the SIP, the senior licenses and harvest records. The coolest thing I thought was that we sold lifetime licenses through this email. So these people saw that their licenses expiring, and 27 of them, or licenses lapsed, and 27 of them had decided, well, it'd be a great thing for us to go ahead and purchase a lifetime license so we can stop these emails. But anyway, I thought that was pretty convincing. So let's go on one more slide. So show me the money. 2 weeks after email was sent, we earned almost $78,000 from the revenue for the less than 5-year lapsed anglers, and almost $100,000 for the people that were more than 5 years lapsed. And we had no investment in this whatsoever. This didn't cost us any money except a little bit of time and a little bit of data guys' time. But, I mean, that is, to me, showing what these emails earned was the icing on the cake. You know, you take all of the stuff that Natalie was talking about, you combine it with a little measurement and data, and you get this kind of ROI. It's fantastic. All right, so the next slide. So everybody's all up and talking about R3 efforts. Well, the middle R, that retention, is definitely accomplished through email communications. And you can really prove your ROI if you make your plan up front and you have a good data guy and you get your targeted audience, and you can measure their purchase from, you know, click to purchase, from open your email to purchase, the whole customer journey. And really you do have to set these things up so where you can measure them, and it's always good to have a control group so you can measure something against them. But all in all, that's about it. Any questions?
Great. Thank you very much, Jenifer. And thank you to both of you for your time today. It was great information.